Your mind isn't a mess because you're weak. It's a mess because you're carrying too much. Thoughts that don't belong to you. Fears that aren't real. Expectations you never agreed to. Over time, these mental weights feel normal, like noise that's always been there. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's supposed to stay. The Stoics believe that a disciplined mind begins with subtraction, not addition. Letting go isn't loss, it's liberation. You don't take back control of your mind by adding more tools, more noise, more strategy. You take it back by cutting what doesn't serve. If your thoughts are a battlefield, then clutter is the enemy within. It slows your reaction, clouds your clarity, weakens your will. Today, we're not building, we're clearing. These are 10 things you must let go if you want to think clearly, move decisively, and finally stop being a prisoner of your own head. This isn't self-help. This is self-discipline. And it begins with letting go. First thing you must let go: comparison. The fastest way to lose your mind is to measure it against someone else's life. Their pace, their success, their confidence. You scroll, you see, and you sink. Not because you're failing, but because you've forgotten your lane. The Stoics never trained for applause. They trained for alignment. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but wrote as if no one would ever read him. Because he wasn't performing. He was practicing. Practicing stillness. Practicing self-respect. Practicing restraint. Comparison is poison disguised as motivation. It never inspires. It only distracts. When you chase their path, you abandon your own. And your mind knows it. That's why you feel scattered, insecure, anxious. Not because you're behind, but because you're misaligned. So let it go. Their timeline, their progress, their highlight reel. You were never meant to live their story. The warrior's path is walked alone, not to isolate you, but to remind you your strength is built where no one claps. And that's exactly how it should be. Second thing you must let go: the illusion of control. You're not tired because life is hard. You're tired because you're constantly trying to control what's not yours to carry. The outcome, their opinion, their response, the weather, the timing. The Stoics drew a clear line. What's up to me, and what's not. That boundary isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Most people feel stuck because they're emotionally invested in the uncontrollable. They react to everything. They try to force everything. And when it doesn't bend, they break. But a warrior doesn't break. He adapts. He adjusts. He releases the need to dominate and focuses on what can be disciplined: his effort, his mindset, his presence. Let go of control, not as a retreat, but as a strategy. Stop wasting your mind on what resists you and start mastering what responds to you, yourself. Third thing you must let go: unrealistic expectations of others. The Stoics taught that most pain doesn't come from what happens. It comes from what we expected to happen. You thought they'd support you. They didn't. You thought they'd stay. They left. You thought they'd understand. They didn't. That's not betrayal. That's reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You will meet people who are selfish, jealous, dishonest. Don't be surprised. Be ready." Why do we keep expecting people to act against their nature? Why do we let disappointment live rent-free in our heads, when it was never our job to control their behavior in the first place? You take back control of your mind by releasing the idea that others should be who you need them to be. They'll be who they are. Your job is to stay who you've trained yourself to be. Calm, clear, focused. Let go of the hope that people will always treat you right. Instead, build the kind of mindset that still chooses peace, even when they don't. If you're training your mind like a warrior, hit subscribe. No hype, just discipline. Fourth thing you must let go: useless guilt about the past. You messed up. You stayed too long. You trusted too fast. You said too much. Welcome to being human. The Stoics didn't deny failure. They just refused to be owned by it. Seneca wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." In other words, you weren't supposed to get everything right. You were supposed to learn. But guilt becomes poison when it turns from reflection into identity. When it stops being a lesson and starts being your label. You don't need to forget your past, but you do need to stop living in it. The mind can't operate clearly when it's constantly dragged backward. Let it go. Not out of ignorance, but out of discipline. You made choices, some good, some bad. But what defines you now is not what you did. It's what you choose to do next. A clear mind can't grow in the shadow of self-punishment. Forgive. Extract the wisdom. Then move. Fifth thing you must let go: the story you keep telling yourself. I'm always like this. This is just who I am. I never finish what I start. These aren't facts. They're scripts. And every time you repeat them, you reinforce the prison. The Stoics taught us that identity is not a fixed trait. It's a pattern of choices. Epictetus said, "You become what you give your attention to." So the more you feed that old story, the more you live it. But here's what no one tells you. The voice in your head that says you can't change, that's not your voice. It's a mix of past judgment, fear, and untrained thinking. You are not your past. You are not your self-doubt. You are what you decide to become today. And that choice is never too late, unless you refuse to make it. So stop. Be honest. Right now, as you hear this, are you still trying to change your mind, while secretly refusing to let go of the identity that keeps you small? If the answer is yes, good. Because self-deception is heavier than failure. And clarity, no matter how uncomfortable, is the beginning of real strength. You can't reset your mind while protecting the version of you that keeps breaking it. The Stoics didn't pretend to be free. They became free by releasing what wasn't theirs to carry. So now it's your turn. What else needs to go? Maybe it's that relationship you're scared to outgrow. Maybe it's that comfort zone you defend like it's a kingdom. Maybe it's your addiction to control, perfection, or approval. But here's the truth. You can't move forward with full hands. You've got to drop something. Maybe a belief. Maybe a habit. Maybe a lie you've told yourself for years. The question is no longer, can you let go? It's, are you finally tired of being chained by what you refuse to release? Because power doesn't come when everything is added. It comes when everything unnecessary is stripped. That's how you make room for clarity. And clarity? That's how warriors think. Letting go isn't weakness. It's not giving up. It's choosing to stop carrying what keeps breaking you. And when you release what doesn't serve your mind, what remains is strength, clean, focused, unshakable. This isn't about becoming a new person. It's about removing the noise so the real you can finally breathe. The Stoics didn't rise above the world by force. They rose above it by detachment, not from life, but from illusion. And you? You don't need to wait for a perfect moment. You don't need another breakdown to start. You just need to decide. What will you no longer carry? What weight have you worn like armor that's actually been your cage? Let it fall. Let it die. You don't need all of it. You never did. Start with one thing, one lie, one fear, one habit. Leave it behind and step forward. Lighter, sharper, clearer. This is how you take back control of your mind. Not by adding more, but by letting go of what's not truly you.